Imagine being at ground zero of an atomic bomb explosion and surviving the unimaginable horror. Now, imagine enduring that nightmare not once, but twice. Tsutomu Yamaguchi faced this extraordinary ordeal, surviving both the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings in 1945. How is it possible to live through two of the most devastating events in human history? Stay with us as we uncover the remarkable story of the man who survived two atomic blasts. Welcome to History and Happenstance, where the intriguing world of history reveals its most peculiar coincidences. Journey with us through time as we explore strange parallels, curious connections, and baffling events that history has woven together. Uncover the truths, ponder the probabilities, and marvel at the mysteries of history's most surprising moments. Join us as we delve into the uncanny side of history. Tsutomu Yamaguchi's story is one of incredible survival against the odds. Born in Nagasaki, Japan, Yamaguchi found himself in Hiroshima for work on August 6, 1945, a day that would change history forever. On that day, the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, causing widespread devastation and loss of life. Despite being in close proximity to the explosion, Yamaguchi miraculously survived. But his ordeal was far from over. Just 3 days later, as he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki, the second atomic bomb fell. Once again, he found himself in the midst of a nuclear explosion, and once again, he emerged alive. Throughout his life, Yamaguchi carried the distinction of being the only recognized survivor of both atomic bombings, bearing witness to two of the most devastating events in human history. As we explore his remarkable journey, we'll uncover a story of resilience, perseverance, and the strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. In the waning days of World War II, the world witnessed the first and only use of nuclear weapons in warfare. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, were pivotal moments that brought an abrupt end to the war and marked the beginning of the nuclear age. The decision to drop the atomic bombs came amid growing tensions in the Pacific theater. The United States had been at war with Japan since the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. By the summer of 1945, the Allies had made significant progress, with Germany having already surrendered in May. However, the war with Japan was far from over, and the island nation showed no signs of capitulation. As Allied forces closed in, Japanese resistance grew increasingly fierce, with devastating losses on both sides. With the prospects of a costly and prolonged invasion of Japan looming, President Harry S. Truman made the fateful decision to use atomic bombs as a means of forcing Japan's surrender. The decision was informed in part by the successful test of an atomic bomb at the Trinity site in New Mexico on July 16, 1945. This test, a part of the Manhattan Project, marked the culmination of years of secretive research and development into nuclear weaponry. On August 6, 1945, a B-29 bomber named Enola Gay dropped an atomic bomb known as Little Boy on the city of Hiroshima. The explosion obliterated the city, instantly killing an estimated 80,000 people and causing untold suffering for many more. The blast radius extended for miles, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. 3 days later, another atomic bomb, nicknamed Fat Man, was dropped on the city of Nagasaki. The impact was similarly devastating, claiming the lives of an estimated 40,000 people in an instant and causing widespread destruction. Amid the ruins of these two cities lay the indelible scars of war and the birth of a new era of nuclear proliferation. On August 6, 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi found himself in Hiroshima, a city that would soon be etched into history. He was there on a business trip for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, where he worked as an engineer. As he made his way to the shipyard, little did he know that his life was about to change forever. At precisely 8:15 a.m., a blinding flash of light engulfed the city as the atomic bomb, Little Boy, was detonated in the sky above Hiroshima. The force of the blast knocked Yamaguchi off his feet, and he found himself surrounded by a world on fire. The city was consumed by an inferno, with buildings reduced to rubble and fires raging in every direction. Yamaguchi had been just under 2 miles from the epicenter of the explosion, and his eardrums were ruptured from the blast. His face and arms were severely burned, and he felt a sharp pain as glass shards embedded in his skin. The city around him was unrecognizable, and he was disoriented by the devastation. Despite his injuries, Yamaguchi managed to find his way to an air raid shelter, where he took refuge with other survivors. The shelter provided some respite from the raging fires outside, but the scenes of destruction and suffering were overwhelming. As Yamaguchi looked around, he saw people with severe burns, others with injuries that defied description. Amid the chaos, he could hear the cries of the injured and the wails of those who had lost loved ones. It was in this grim environment that Yamaguchi was reunited with 2 of his colleagues, who had also survived the blast. Together, they made their way out of the ruins of Hiroshima, walking for hours in search of help and medical attention. The roads were filled with the injured, and Yamaguchi could see the shock and despair in the eyes of those he passed. The once thriving city of Hiroshima had been reduced to a smoldering wasteland in the blink of an eye. The human toll was immense, with an estimated 80,000 people killed instantly and countless others injured. As Yamaguchi and his colleagues finally reached a train station, they boarded a train bound for Nagasaki, where they hoped to find safety and medical care. Yamaguchi had survived the first atomic bombing, but his journey was far from over. He was returning to his hometown of Nagasaki, a city that would soon face its own moment of reckoning. After the harrowing ordeal in Hiroshima, Tsutomu Yamaguchi, along with his colleagues, managed to catch a train back to his hometown of Nagasaki. Exhausted and injured, Yamaguchi reached Nagasaki on August 7th, a day after the bombing of Hiroshima. It was a journey that no one could have imagined, from the smoldering ruins of one city to another that was about to suffer the same fate. Back home in Nagasaki, Yamaguchi's family was relieved to see him alive, but shocked at the sight of his injuries. His wife and child had been worried when they heard about the bombing in Hiroshima, and were now focused on nursing him back to health. The burns on his arms and face were severe, and he was still in pain from the glass shards embedded in his skin. Despite the physical agony, he was thankful to be back with his family and grateful for their support. On August 9th, just 2 days after returning home, Yamaguchi was at work, reporting to his supervisor about the losses in Hiroshima. As he recounted the horrors he had witnessed, another blinding flash of light filled the room. It was a sight that was all too familiar to him. A second atomic bomb had been detonated, this time over Nagasaki. The explosion shook the building, and Yamaguchi was once again thrown to the ground. Panic and confusion ensued as the building's occupants rushed for safety. Yamaguchi made his way outside and saw a familiar scene of destruction. The city was on fire, buildings were reduced to rubble, and the sky was filled with thick, black smoke. Despite the shock of experiencing a second atomic bombing, Yamaguchi's thoughts quickly turned to his family. He raced home, fearing for the safety of his wife and child. Fortunately, they had survived the blast, but were injured and shaken by the experience. As he looked around, he realized that he had survived 2 nuclear bombings, a feat that seemed impossible. The destruction in Nagasaki was immense, with an estimated 40,000 people killed instantly and many more injured. The blast had obliterated the city, leaving a path of destruction that mirrored the devastation in Hiroshima. In the span of 3 days, Yamaguchi had lived through two of the most catastrophic events in human history. His survival was a testament to the human spirit and the will to live in the face of unimaginable adversity. As we reflect on the remarkable life of Tsutomu Yamaguchi, we are reminded of the enduring impact of his story. His survival of both atomic bombings serves as a stark reminder of the horrors of war and the devastation that nuclear weapons can bring. The resilience and strength he displayed in the face of unimaginable adversity are testaments to the human spirit and the will to survive. Yamaguchi's life serves as a powerful reminder of the need for peace and disarmament. He dedicated his later years to advocating for a world free of nuclear weapons, sharing his experiences with audiences around the world. As we remember Yamaguchi, we must also remember the countless lives that were lost in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The suffering and destruction brought by these events serve as a stark warning of the consequences of warfare and the need for a world where peace prevails. The memory of Yamaguchi and the countless others affected by the bombings should serve as a catalyst for a world that prioritizes peace and reconciliation. In a world still grappling with conflict and strife, Yamaguchi's story reminds us of the importance of working towards a world where peace is the norm and where the horrors of war are a distant memory. Let us carry forward his message of peace and disarmament, working towards a world where conflict is a thing of the past and where the lessons of history guide us towards a brighter and more peaceful future.